The nationwide strike initiated by the Nigeria Labour Congress commenced on Tuesday, revealing partial compliance within various sectors of the economy. The NLC, in collaboration with its affiliate, the Trade Union Congress, declared an indefinite strike starting from November 14, 2023. The decision to launch the strike was driven by alleged infractions and encroachments on workers' rights, including the assaults on NLC President Comrade Joe Ajaero and the government's persistent refusal to implement agreed-upon measures. Additional grievances encompassed the non-payment of backlog salaries, pensions, discriminatory salary practices, and non-compliance with the national minimum wage. Despite an ex-parte application filed by the federal government and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice seeking to restrain the unions from proceeding with the planned strike, approximately 19 unions defied the court's order. This defiance raises questions about potential implications across various sectors and the government's response to the workers' demands. Recall that in September, the organized private sector of Nigeria issued a warning to the NLC and the TUC, underscoring the substantial threat that strike actions pose to the country's economy. Well, still on the NLC strike, businesses were partially affected while financial institutions rendered skeletal activities, even as workers under the employment of the Oyo State government resumed their duty post in defiance of a directive by the national leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress and its affiliate Trade Union Congress, who had directed them to stay off their duty posts indefinitely. Meanwhile, a cross-section of Nigerians who spoke with newsmen lamented the worsening economic situation in the country, which they say will be made worse with a strike action.
Before, like yesterday, at least, we thank God about our business. But today, there is strike, everything just do. Even all these Batman, they are all complaining that there is no market today. So it really affects us much and much. The only is that I want government to consider everybody, because all this, what we call it strike, it will affect all segments, it will affect all sections. So government should consider all the workers and everybody, so for everything to be okay.
Here in Oyo State, it doesn't have any effect. So that's all I can say. The government, both the government and the labor leaders should sit down and find a lasting solution. What I mean by that is a resolution. Try to sit down, because the reason for this a nationwide strike is because our NLC president was brutalized, and we don't want such a thing to the reoccurrence in the future, and we have to stop it now. We have to do something needful, and in the government side, government needs to do the needful, in order to curb all this thing not to happen in the future.
Well, the situation is worrisome in town. Everything is scarce, even money is scarce. You don't see anything. You see people begging around, even supposedly well-to-do people begging around, people parking their cars because they can't afford fuel. And it's such a situation that is very worrying, very alarming. And you are now talking of another round of indefinite strike. From where I'm coming from, go to EBDC at least to purchase energy. The place is short, so that means I cannot have electricity for God knows how long, until when they decide to start work again. And I'm glad at least I could get into the bank and make some transaction. But all in all, the government has to do something about this. We cannot continue like this.
We need to exercise some patience with this government, because where they are heading to, although due to what had happened before, from the past experience, some have come with the failures with what they promised to do. We need to reason with this present government and look at what they said they want to do during campaign. Let's watch and see it. Like myself now, all of us are in this. So you understand me, but we have to say it. This thing is not easy at all. But I think that out of nonsense there is sense, and at the end of the day I pray for something better.
And in a related development, the Academic Staff Union of Universities has said the federal government's plan to automatically deduct 40% from universities' internally generated revenue will impoverish the university system. In October, the Ministry of Finance notified academic institutions across the country of its plan to automatically deduct 40% from their IGR. Also, in a statement signed by its national president, Professor Emmanuel Osudeke, on Tuesday after its National Executive Council meeting at the Kaduna State University, explained that universities were not revenue-generating agencies, saying that the obligatory fees paid by students were to provide the necessary tools for them to be properly educated. The statement said the NEC meeting took place from Saturday 11th to Sunday 12th November 2023 and deliberated on several issues affecting the Nigerian university system and the country. Osodeke advised the federal government to remove universities from the list of agencies expected to remit 40% from its IGR. And President Bola Tinubu says poverty is not a shameful thing, but it is unacceptable in Nigeria under his leadership. Tinubu spoke on Tuesday at the 55th International Conference, Exhibition and Emerald Anniversary of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria with a theme, Sustainable HR, Business and National Development. The president, who was represented by Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Nkiru Onyeji-Ocha, noted that in the face of global challenges, his administration was committed to steering Nigeria towards self-reliance, reducing dependency and others. Commenting on the roles of HR practitioners, Tinubu said it was crucial in molding and effectively managing people to become catalysts for economic resurgence in an increasingly competitive and changing world. On his part, the president and chairman of Council CIPM, Olusegun Mujid, noted that now more than ever, HR was charged with the responsibility of shaping a progressive organization and nation. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, has told 179 beneficiaries of the bilateral education agreement departing for Russia on Wednesday that Nigeria is investing a lot in them, and they are expected to return the investment by coming back to help move the nation forward. The minister, speaking on Tuesday, advised the students to be of good conduct and focus on their studies. The minister, represented by the Director of Tertiary Education in the Federal Ministry of Education, Rakia Iliasu, also stated that it was most important for them to make their presence known to the Nigerian embassy in Moscow, adding that it is very necessary based on previous experiences from Ukraine. The Senate on Tuesday threatened the complete privatization of the Nigerian Postal Service if the agency continues operating at a loss. The chairman of the Joint Committee on Finance, Senator Sani Musa, issued a warning during the continuation of the 2024-2026 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework public hearing at the National Assembly Complex in Abuja. Quizzing the Postmaster General of the Federation, Omotola Odeyemi, Musa berated the lack of functionality of 9 post offices across small revenue generation, particularly from stamp duties. The committee therefore directed the PMG to provide the names of all staff members of the organization, allocation and salary to the committee for further investigation by the upper chamber. It also gave NIPOST 2 years to establish a plan on how to revamp the service and change the business model to achieve self-sustenance rather than operating at a loss. Otherwise, it would enact legislation to ensure total privatization. Away from the National Assembly now, a Canadian investigation team is currently in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, to probe an explosion that had occurred at the Canadian High Commission in Nigeria. The fire incident occurred on November 6 in the High Commission's generator house, claiming 2 lives while 2 other persons were injured. Following the incident, the Commission suspended its operations but said its Lagos and Abuja visa application center would remain open. According to a statement made available to newsmen on Tuesday by the public affairs staff of the Commission, Demilade Koshemani, the investigation team, would work with relevant Nigerian authorities to carry out their task.